Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about sublimation, how to get started, and how to convert your printer. So you may have heard about the sublimation process. If not, stay tuned because if you love to do DIYs, this is definitely a game changer. But if you have heard of it and did not take the jump into the sublimation world yet, you may be thinking that it's a little bit intimidating or a little too hard to get started. But stay tuned, I have you covered. It is so much easier than you are thinking. But before we get started, if you are new here, I would love for you to join us by subscribing down below. So let's start with the basics. What is sublimation? So sublimation is basically just the process of turning something from a solid, like dried ink on a paper, into a gas. So for instance, this shirt here, we are going to be sublimating later on in the video, and you can see this image here was sublimated into the shirt. So it was basically infused as a solid to a gas into the fibers, and now that image is permanent. So the first thing you're going to need is a printer, and you can buy a sublimation printer, but they are quite pricey. So much more cost effective is just to convert an Epson Ecotank printer for as low as $200 into a sublimation printer. So this is my Epson Ecotank 2800. It does need to be an Ecotank. You can see that bottom right there that I was pointing to. That is where we are going to be converting it with our sublimation ink. And I do recommend starting with a brand new printer. It is possible to convert an existing Ecotank printer into a sublimation printer, but the process of removing and putting in the new ink can be a little bit tricky and messy. And plus, once you do convert your printer into a sublimation printer, it needs to stay a sublimation printer. It can no longer be your everyday printer because the inks are completely different. So you can see here up top, I'm just showing you the model again. And these are the bottles. Something like this is what we are going to be filling it up with. So there are no cartridges for this printer. So you want to open up your Ecotank here and you'll be able to see the spot for all of your colors. So it has the traditional cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. But since we are converting this one for sublimation, you might be wondering, what kind of ink do I need? And you do need to be using sublimation ink. So you will not be using that Epson ink that came with your printer. So I'm going to be using the Hiipoo brand ink today, and I have been very, very happy with the Hiipoo brand. All of their products that I have used have been really wonderful, and I could not be happier with the results. I did just want to show you though, this is the old ink that Hiipoo had sold for sublimation, and the new ink is so much easier. So the old ones used to come with these syringes, and the process is not that bad, but it can be a little bit tricky. However, the new bottles are amazing. You're going to see how incredibly easy it is to turn this printer into a sublimation printer. So they come just like this. So you have those same traditional 4 colors here, and these are their easy fill bottles. This sublimation ink is also going to last you quite some time because when I did fill it up, it did not even take the entire bottle, so you will have plenty left over if you ever need to refill your tank. And I am so excited to let you guys know that I am going to be partnering with Hiipoo to bring you guys a bunch of sublimation videos to give you some really fun ideas and just some craft inspiration, so stay tuned for that. Ink does come with a pair of disposable gloves, which are just good to have on just in case, because you do not want to get that ink on your fingers and stain them. And you can see here that this printer is not even plugged in, so we are not going to even start setting it up yet. We want to fill up those tanks first. I'm going to start off by just opening that front portion of the Ecotank, and in there you can see all of the colors that we are going to be filling it up, and they do correspond with these Hiipoo inks here. So you can see the cyan is first, so that is the first one I'm going to go with. So I did put my gloves on here, and these Ecotank bottles actually have a screw cap, so you're just going to want to go ahead and just screw off that top. And of course, make sure you are using the sublimation ink. I will leave a link for this ink down below, as well as everything that you see in today's video. So I'm going to start off with my cyan color by just unscrewing that cap. And you saw for the Ecotank, I did just lift that tab there. I'm going to leave the other 3 closed just to make sure that they do not get any blue ink in it. But I was surprised how incredible incredibly neat this entire process was. So I just turned it upside down. You're going to want to put it right over the nozzle, and you're basically going to push it down, and you're almost going to feel it lock in. So once that happens, you can start to see your tank fill up. So it has a little window on the bottom, which is incredibly helpful, and you'll see that ink just fill up all the way to the top. Once you see that it is completely filled, you just want to carefully lift the bottle up and off of the printer. You want to make sure you're not squeezing because you don't want any ink to get out, and then you can just close that tab up and screw back on your cap. And like I mentioned before, I had plenty of ink left over, so I'm just going to hold on to this in that same box, so if I do see my blue ink is starting to get a little bit low, I can just top it off. Next, I'm going to go in with my magenta color, and it's going to be that same process. So I'm just going to be opening up my magenta tab. I'm going to unscrew that top off, and then I'm going to see that nozzle. And I did want to show you guys here, it is a no drip nozzle. So when you have it upside down, don't worry, it's not going to leak out. It needs that pressure of actually locking in for the ink to start to come out of the bottle and into the printer. Now you can see below that that magenta color is starting to fill up through that window, and I'm just going to wait until it's all the way at the top, and then I'm just going to carefully take my bottle off and recap it. You can really see here that the process of turning this from just a regular Epson printer into a sublimation printer really is so incredibly easy. It is no harder than just setting up a new printer out of the box like usual. And these new bottles do make the process so quick, so easy, and mess-free. Did go ahead and just fill up my yellow tank off camera, and now I'm just finishing up with my last tank of the black ink. Now that all 4 of my colors are completely filled, I'm just going to close that last tab and close up that Ecotank. So now you just want to follow the directions that your printer comes with and set it up as normal. So I just had to finish setting mine up, connect it to my Wi-Fi, and I would say that took around 20 to 30 minutes. Now before you can get sublimating, you will need one more piece of machinery, and that is going to be a heat press. So you might be wondering, which heat press should I get? So there are a ton of different heat presses on the market at all different price ranges, and you do need a heat press for sublimation. A regular iron is just not going to provide the right amount of pressure, and it will not get hot enough. This heat press here is from Amazon, and it did come with attachments, so I can do mugs as well as some plates and hats. And they do come in all different price ranges. I'll leave this one linked down below. I have been very happy with it so far. But if you are going to be using this for a business, you may want to invest in a little bit more expensive heat press. Now we are ready to start sublimating, and you may be wondering, do I need special paper? Yes, you will need sublimation paper. So I'm going to be sticking with Hiipoo on this one, and I'm going to be using their sublimation paper. I'll leave this one linked down below. So this is the 8.5 by 11 size, which is the perfect fit for this printer. This one comes with 110 sheets. So it has plenty of paper in here for tons of crafts. I think mine is going to last me a pretty long while, so that is excellent. Back of the box here, you will see a little table that basically just lets you know how long and at what temperature to sublimate different items. But if you ever have a question, you can always look it up online. There are tons of examples. You're loading your paper into your printer. You want to make sure it's the right side. So the back of this paper here, you can see there is a watermark, and for Hiipoo, it's a little picture of a hippo. And you just want to make sure that you're actually printing on the white side, the one without the watermark. Today I'm going to be sublimating a workout shirt, so I wanted to just print a really fun image. So I went with this run like it's almost midnight picture, and I have a little glass slipper. I just thought it'd be really cute for a running shirt. When you print it out, you do want to make sure to mirror that image. That way it is the correct way when you sublimate it onto your shirt. In my upcoming videos, I will get a lot more in-depth about the software I'm using to create my images, but this one was just kind of a getting started video. So definitely stay tuned if you have any questions with how to make images and where to get started with all of that kind of stuff. So this is my workout shirt here, and when you're doing clothing items, the higher the polyester count, the better. So this one is 100% polyester workout shirt. It's kind of that moisture wicking material. And polyester is going to be your best friend when you are sublimating. It is going to take the ink in the best and just make it super vibrant and just really show that beautiful image. I did make a couple mistakes, and don't worry, I will point them out to you so you do not make my same mistakes. But right now, I'm just going to be pressing my shirt for about 3 to 5 seconds because I just want to get all the moisture out of it and also make sure I have a super smooth, wrinkle-free surface to put my transfer onto. So now that my shirt is nice and wrinkle-free, I'm going to grab my transfer and I'm just going to be putting it in the center. So I just want to make sure to center it up correctly. And I did want to mention underneath my shirt here is a Teflon sheet. So you want to be putting Teflon under your image or butcher paper or even just printer paper. You basically want to have a barrier between the item you are sublimating and your heat press just to protect your heat press. So here is some heat transfer tape. Do not use regular tape, it must be heat transfer tape. And this is just going to keep your image exactly where you placed it when you do press it into the heat press machine. So this was my first mistake here. I did forget to just put something over that image to protect my shirt as well as the heat press machine. So like I said before, you can use reusable Teflon sheets. I'll leave those linked down below. They have them on Amazon, or just butcher paper, even just printer paper, something to protect it. So I'm just showing you here that watermark really does pop a lot more after you use the heat press. And now I'm just going to be carefully taking off that transfer. It is hot, so be careful. And you do want to take it off while the shirt is still warm just to get the best image. But you can see here that since I did forget to put that protective barrier in between my shirt and the metal, I did accidentally scorch the side of the shirt just a little bit. It wasn't that bad, but now I know for the future to always remember my barrier sheet. I was so happy with that one that I decided to make a little workout shirt for my husband because I didn't want to leave him out. So he gave me one of his older workout shirts that he said I can do whatever I want with. So I have this t-shirt here, and this one actually is 100% polyester as well. And you can see me kind of off camera. It's a little bit difficult to see, but I am just placing a piece of regular computer paper underneath that first layer of shirt. That way when I sublimate my image onto the top layer, any extra ink that might leak through will not end up on the back of the shirt as well. This time I did remember my Teflon barrier paper, and I'm just going to be pressing my shirt again for about 3 to 5 seconds just to get out any moisture and make sure that that shirt is completely wrinkle-free and has a nice smooth surface. I forgot to mention before that both shirts I did heat press at 390 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds. Here's the image I'm going to be sublimating onto my husband's shirt, so it just says "Live for Today." So I'm just going to make sure to line that up absolutely in the center, and I'm going to be using my heat transfer tape again just to hold it in place. Then I placed on my Teflon sheet, or like I said, you can just use butcher paper as a protective barrier, and then sublimated my shirt at 390 for 30 seconds. So now I'm just going to swing that heat press to the back and carefully take off my transfer. And here is a closer look on how my shirt turned out. So my husband was really impressed with this. He was just kind of used to how iron-on transfers have that rough surface and was amazed at how smooth this sublimation process was. I hope that this video was helpful, and if you have any questions at all, let me know down below in the comments. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you are not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing because I have a lot of sublimation videos on the way that I really hope you will enjoy. And if sublimating is still not your thing, no worries. I have a bunch of other DIY videos on the way very soon. To subscribe to my channel, you can just click on my picture right here.